Welcome and hello. This is a video exercise in HEC HMS, and in this exercise, we are going to be discussing lag routing method. What I have on the screen here is the website that you can go to if you go to the description of this video. I've left the link, applying the lag routing method. If you've never been to the HMS tutorials and guides page, we can go to the top, or we can just click on the HMS docs right here. Tutorials and guides is this link here. And then if we scroll down, we can find the different reach routing method exercises. Here, applying reach routing methods in HMS. What we have is the first link here, which gives us an introduction, followed by a number of different exercises that demonstrate the different routing methods. So if we just click on this first link here, again, this is just the introduction. There's no actual files or tutorials or steps to follow, but it gives a background about reach routing in general and introduces the project that we're going to be using. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can click this link. That'll take you to the page that we started at with our files and our steps. But you can also navigate here by going over to the left menu and then just clicking on the next link down for lag routing method. All right, so we're ready to get started here. We have a little introduction, and then what we need to do is download the files. So just go ahead and click on this zip file and then click the download button and then wait for that to download. Okay, so that's downloaded for me. I'm going to go ahead and close that. I have my zip file just right here downloaded to my desktop. So I'm going to select that, open up the project. Okay, so this is the project here. I'm going to go up a level, and then I'm just going to copy this project into the location on my computer I want it to be saved permanently at. So I'll close that. I can delete the zip file. And now this Puxatawny project is what I want to open in HMS. Okay, I've got HMS here. I'm going to go up to File and then Open, and then click on the Browse button. Now I'm going to navigate to that project. Okay, here's the project, Puxatawny, and now I'm going to select this puxatawny.hms file and select. All right, looks good. So what I'm going to do is just see what we have already in our project set up for us. If I click on the Mahoney Creek, I can see that now in my basin model. I'm going to go ahead and just expand a little bit. It looks like we have all the layers on, so I'm going to toggle some of those off by going up to View, Map Layers, and then just one at a time unchecking all these layers because we really don't need these for the exercise. Okay, so that looks good. I'm going to just go ahead and zoom in. What we have for our hydrologic elements are shown in the basin map. We have an inflow element, and then a junction, and then a reach, and then a sink. They're all hydrologically connected one to another. This inflow element here, if I click on that element and then I click on the inflow tab, I see it's connected to a discharge gauge, which is for inflow. So this is going to be used as our model inflow hydrograph, I believe. Let me just see what we have here. For time series data up here in the Watershed Explorer, I'll expand the discharge gauges, and I see there's two discharge gauges, inflow and unsteady results. So if I click on inflow, it tells me where that file is. It's a DSS path. Specifically, it's in the data directory of my project, DSS directory inside that, routing.dss. And then here's the actual path name. So I'm just identifying the location of that inflow data here in the components editor. Let's go ahead and check out what that data looks like. So I'm going to open up DSS view and then navigate to that DSS file. Here's the project, Puxatawny. So I'm in the project, data, DSS, and then routing.dss was the name of the file. If I'll open that up, this inflow record right here is what we were looking at. So I can look at the data in a graph format. Here it is. It's just a hydrograph, looks synthetic. And then I can check out the data if I wanted to right here. So it starts at noon on April 11, 94 with a zero flow. And then it increases and then it decreases. It looks like the peak flow is around, yeah, right here, just shy of 13,000 CFS at 8 p.m. Okay, I'll go ahead and close that for now. The other elements we're seeing on the map is a junction and then the reach. This is the reach we're going to be focusing on and messing around with the lag routing method and its parameters. And then the downstream location of the reach is connected to this sink element. This sink element has an outflow hydrograph or a quote observed hydrograph assigned to it that was generated from HEC RAS. And we can identify that by clicking on the Options tab once we have our sink element selected. And what we see here for observed flow is this unsteady results. which is the same as this right here. So this is actually going to be the exact same PSS file, but a different path, the other path that we saw. Let's bring up that outflow hydrograph in the same view as the inflow hydrograph. So here it is. I'll just select both of them. Let me just zoom in a little bit here. All right, what we see in green here is the inflow hydrograph, and then that's at the inflow location. And then after the water has been routed through that reach, it would result in an outflow hydrograph in red here. What we know for our model is the green inflow, and then what we're trying to do is match the resulting outflow with this red line, which is assumed to be our target data. So let's go ahead and close that and get back to HMS. In this project, we also have a meteorologic model called No Rain ready to go for us. And then we also have a controlled specification. It's called April 1994. It starts at April 11th, 1994 at noon, and it goes for the next 36 hours until through April 12th of 1994 with a 15-minute time interval. So we're going to be looking at the lag routing method for this exercise. I'm going to go ahead and click on my reach here. And then in the components editor, if I click on the reach tab, I now have a routing method right here. Right now it's set to none, but as you can see, we have a number of different options. I'm going to go ahead and select lag. The lag routing method is the most simplistic hydrologic routing method in HMS. This method can only translate flood, wave, and it doesn't include any attenuation or diffusion processes. Therefore, this method is most appropriate for shorter segments where attenuation and diffusion are small or negligible. If you're following along in the tutorial, we have some background information, and then you scroll down, we get to the steps, which are right here. We've already done the first few steps by opening the project, selecting the basin, selecting the reach, setting it to lag. So now we're going to start at step 4, where it says select the routing tab, and then select the initial type of inflow equals discharge. So what that means is we were on this route reach tab in the components editor. Select the routing tab here after you've selected lag for your routing method. So routing tab, the initial type here, it's already set to discharge equals inflow. So that's what I want. Now we need to enter the lag value, and this is in minutes. Type in the lag value that they've calculated in the tutorial itself. So what I've sort of skipped over already is if I scroll back up, it talks about 3 different ways that that lag time is calculated, and it's here. It's using a hydrograph data, comparing flow length to flow wave velocity, and then the last one is regression using observed data. And then it gives a couple examples for these first 2 bullets. So for instance, using the hydrograph data, we see the inflow and the outflow hydrograph, which we already brought up in DSS view. But here it is again right here. You can compare, for instance, the peak locations, the peak flow locations. If this one is, for instance, at 8 p.m. for the inflow, and if the outflow peaks 4 hours later at midnight, then that would be 4 hours or 240 minutes. So if I went back to HMS, for instance, I could type in 240 minutes for my lag and hit save and then run the simulation once we set it up. The second method that it describes is further down, comparing the flow length to the flood wave velocity. And what it's doing here is it's just basically dividing the length of the reach by that flood wave velocity. So we're seeing that flood wave velocity could be calculated here, 1 over the top width times the slope here of the flow stage rating curve. So for instance, if the top width is 200 feet, and then let's see, they tell us to use this flow as a reference flow. And if you trace that up to this curve, which is USGS rating curve at Puxatawny, and then you take that slope of the line, basically what it tells us to do is use 1316 CFS per feet, multiply that by 1 over 200 feet. That results in a velocity of 6.58 feet. That's what the answer. Yeah, so it shows us the math right here. This is what I was just talking about. And then to find the lag, you would take the length of the reach, which is about 13 miles. I think this is the answer to question 5 here. Yeah, 68,860 feet. That's the length of the reach divided by that velocity, and we have 2.9 hours. I went ahead and did that math myself and came up with 174.4 minutes after I converted it to minutes, which is quite a bit less than our 240 minutes, like more than an hour less. But let's just go with 174.4 and then click save. We can try 240 as well. Step 7 in the instructions tell us to create a simulation run and name it April 94 underscore lag. So we're going to go up to the compute menu here, simulation run manager, and then click new. And then we're going to name it April 94 lag. Click next. Now we need to select the basin model. So we only have one basin, Mahoney Creek. Next. Now we select the meteorologic model. No rain, that's the only one we have. And this control specification, April 94. Finish. All right, up in our simulation run manager, we now have our simulation run that's been saved. That looks good. And now we'll select that run here from the compute dropdown and then click to compute. All right, so that computed fine. Well, what I want to do is check the results. So let's look at the graph first. I have the reach selected. And this graph is rather impressive to me, at least. What we see here is the dashed blue line is the inflow. I'm not too excited about that. And then the solid blue line that's now selected is our outflow hydrograph using the 174.4 minute lag. As you notice, there's no attenuation. It's just a true transfer or transpose of the inflow hydrograph. And then also in black here is the outflow curve that was measured. This is the target location. It wasn't measured. It was generated via HEC I read. And this is actually, I mean, probably the best fit that we can get using this lag routing method. But as far as matching the rising limb and the receding limb of the hydrograph, a lag of 174 that we just used for this simulation run looks really good. We can go ahead and look at some of the other data. Here's the summary table right here. Again, our peak flow is going to be way too much. It's going to be more than the 11,283. However, the volume is very close, 2.94 versus 2.90. And then you can tell based on the percent bias, RMSE standard deviation, and Nash Sutcliffe values that this is a very good fit. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And just out of curiosity, I'm going to see what 240 minutes of lag would look like if we run the simulation. So let's do that. I'm going to open up that plot again, and it's pretty good, but nowhere near as good as it was for the previous trial run. So in the solid blue line here, this is our computed outflow hydrograph, and then the black line here is the observed or the HEC data. This is our target hydrograph. All right, so I'm going to change that lag back to 174. I went ahead and ran the simulation one more time at 174.4 lag. I'm back on the instructions here and looking at the results that they had. And then after those steps, we now see a section called Calibrate the Model, and it tells us to adjust the lag routing method parameters in an attempt to simultaneously best match the peak discharge flow rate, time to peak, discharge, and shape of the hydrograph and discharge volume. Really, for the lag method, there's not a whole lot more we can do. One thing that it mentions is to add a loss or gain method. So I'm going to go ahead and select a constant loss and then click on this loss gain tab. What I can do is try to match the total volumes. I'll click on the summary table, and what we have is 2.94, and what we're trying to get is 2.90. So one option to do is just set the flow rate reduction to 0, but then change the fraction. So using that 2.94 and 2.90, I could decrease the flow by 1.36% and then run it again and see what happens. Okay, so that ran. What I have for total volume here is 2.90 inches, and that matches my volume here as well. Now the percent bias and the Nash Sutcliffe values are still very good. The instructions do tell us to change this to percolation, and then over here, set the value to 0.0014. And then if I save and then I compute, I get this error message at the bottom that says channel loss method percolation is not valid for routing method lag for this reach. So if you get that error, then you're not alone. I got the error too. So I'm not quite sure why it's even letting me select this percolation option if it's not allowed with the lag routing method, but no big deal. Well, that was it for this exercise. We talked about the routing method called lag, and then we played around with the different lag value in the components editor so that our resulting outflow hydrograph would match the provided hydrograph generated from HEC